Alright, so let's talk about Game of Thrones. Season 7, Episode 1. This episode is called Dragonstone. And for an episode that's meant to come back and set up all the players on the board and get you back into the mindset of being like, alright, we're getting into the final stretch. Here's all the people at play. Let's play the game. I think this was a really good episode for setting that stuff up, because you really saw everybody throughout the course of this episode. I think they touched on everybody's storyline. You saw Jon and Sansa. You saw Cersei. You even saw the Hound. You saw Arya with her revenge plot. You see the little scheming that Littlefinger's doing on the side of Jon and Sansa. You see Daenerys finally arriving near King's Landing at Dragonstone. You even see Jon's friend Sam and Gilly at the Citadel. So I feel like we really touched on everybody. You even see Bran arriving at the Wall. So I feel like you really get an idea of where everybody is going into this final stretch, because Jon and Sansa, they've established their rule in the north. You see that little bit of conflict, but you see that they, in the end, I don't know if they necessarily compromise, but Jon's decision making as the king of the north, he won out. So I enjoyed that scene for seeing how he would rule, and if he would necessarily be different than his fake father or whatever. But because Ned, we know he's not his father now, but he's ruling similar to him, and he's taking lessons that he learned from him and carrying them forth. Ned always taught me that if you were to be the one to sentence someone to death, you have to be the one to swing the sword. So I appreciate that he's carrying those lessons forward, but he's also I think he's being a little bit smarter about how he dictates, because he's not just blindly punishing people, and he's not blindly trusting people. He's like, okay, the people who, from the Umbers and the Karstarks who betrayed us, they've paid their price. Now, if these people reestablish their loyalty and bend a knee, then I'll let them keep their houses. So I appreciated that decision, because it started out really sounding like Sansa's choice was the better one. It's like, well, just take those castles away from those people. So I like that little bit of back and forth there. There's still a little bit of tension with Brienne and Tormund Giantsbane. They're still playing up that idea of that the glance between them, and then Tormund is telling Podrick, "Oh, you're a lucky man to be trained by her and to get knocked around by her." So it tells you what type of thing that he's into. Obviously, there's the Cersei stuff with Jaime. There's a lot of tension now that Jaime's back, and after everything that happened in the end of last season, with blowing up everyone in the Sparrows in the church, and their son, their last remaining son, committing suicide. So now they have no more children. Their relationship is strained, and they have enemies on all sides. And it really sets up, just like Jaime said, it's like we look like the losing side. So I'm wondering how they're going to come back, because Daenerys is marching swiftly towards King's Landing, and it doesn't look like she has much opposition, but we know that's obviously going to change with the entry of Euron Greyjoy. He made a promise last season of being like, okay, I'm going to go to King's Landing. I'm gonna marry the queen and then assume my place on the Iron Throne, and I'm just gonna take over. So he is working towards that goal. He made his proposal, basically. It was turned down. But then he said, okay, I'm going to bring you back a gift. And I'm assuming that is going to be something we see soon, because they're teasing this alliance between them, and they need soldiers. They need bodies. So I'm assuming like this partnership is going to happen in some form. So I'm curious to see what this gift is. It's going to be some kind of either sacrifice or capture. Like it's going to be somebody like Arya, who is on the way there after meeting up with Ed Sheeran and the Band of Brothers. All right, real quick, let's talk about Ed Sheeran on Game of Thrones. Like, I really, really like this show, but the appearance of Ed Sheeran in this first episode almost like took off of like a huge chunk of like credibility from the show, in my opinion. I'm just like really, like seriously, is this Ed Sheeran right now? Like seriously. So that kind of took me out of the episode for a moment. But I enjoyed the fact that they didn't try to make his character very important. He was just like, after that point where he's singing as Arya comes up, and he's like, oh, I've never heard that song before. Because, you know, like, there's only a handful of songs in the kingdoms, and they've all been sung several times, and they're about the kings and queens or whatever. And he's like, oh, it's a new one. I'm just like, whatever. So as they continue talking, I appreciate the fact that like Ed Sheeran's character like never really says anything else after that point. I like that, so that they can like easily write him off, or like not make him into a thing, or maybe we could just never see him again. That's a preference. And also, this was like the first time that like we've seen Arya on the road with the Hound and situations similar to this. It's like the first time I've ever seen Arya or any of our main characters just wander upon a group of soldiers, and they don't either try to murder her or sexually assault her. It's kind of a relief to see that neither of those things happen. They just seem to be like chill dudes, and that's not something you really encounter much in the world of Westeros. I'm trying to think what else was a highlight from the episode. There's obviously the stuff with Sam, and that's one of the best montages I've ever seen. It was just like Sam in his trials and tribulations at the Citadel. He's cleaning out chamber pots, eating his daily slop, and so on and so forth. And like throughout the course of the montage, you get to a point where you can't tell whether the slop you're seeing is the poop from chamber pots that he's cleaning out, or the slop that he's being served every day. It's just like, hopefully he doesn't mix up those bowls one of these days, because they like the same shaped bowls, and like it's just like so gross, and it's like really shows like this is wearing on him, and this is just a taxing experience. And it was not at all what he envisioned. Like, I'm gonna go and learn to be a maester, and this is what it entails. It's just like, it's even worse than going to train to be a faceless man, because it's like, okay, you have to clean bodies and preserve all these faces and clean and talk to these people with diseases and stuff. It's just like, no, the maesters have it even worse. It's just like, here, help me weigh these filthy, diseased organs, and take this food to these people with grayscale. And speaking of which, we saw Jorah Mormont. He went off to find the cure to grayscale. I don't know if they have the cure at the Citadel, but they're more than happy to lock him up like a prisoner and observe him in his transformation into a grayscaly creature. So it's interesting that he's there. So I'm expecting there's going to be a little bit more interaction with Sam and Jorah. They might be able to share information, because they do have they both have some pretty relevant information about dragons, dragon glass, uh, the mother of dragons, like a lot of dragon related information that they can exchange. That would be useful. Also, like the fact that Sam discovered in one of these forbidden books, which he finally went into that era. And it's funny, all the stuff with Sam in the library reminded me a lot of Doctor Strange. Just like all these forbidden books and how he had to sneak in his way to get these advanced books from the secret section of the library. It reminded me of that. So he discovers that there's a mountain of dragon glass right beneath Dragonstone, which makes sense. And that is where Daenerys is, where it's basically her ancestral home. I mean, not even her ancestral home. It's like she was actually born there. She like recognized stuff. She got there. She's the old throne of where her family ruled. So it's interesting that they're sitting on top of a cache of dragon glass, which is going to be very needed. And I'm curious of how that goes down. Is Jon gonna head there? Because that seems kind of backwards, because they're way south towards King's Landing. So Jon's gonna have to travel way south, get to King's Landing, somehow get the dragon glass. And I don't know if this would involve an encounter and battle with the Lannister army before going back north towards the wall to fight off the White Walkers, because he has to come south and then make sure he gets back north before they destroy his whole area. So that seems like it's going to be kind of a daunting task, unless somebody delivers the dragon glass to him from the south. That would be most efficient. But I don't think, like, Daenerys isn't focused on the task at hand as far as the White Walkers in the north. And Jon isn't really focused on the task at hand as far as taking over power from the south. So it's like Daenerys and Jon are the two sides you would see presumably coming together to face this bigger threat of Cersei. Although she's not even a bigger threat at this point. The biggest threat is the White Walkers. But like to take on this Mad Queen and finally secure the Seven Kingdoms for the good people. You would think that would be their shared goal, but like Jon, he knows what the real end game is. It's like, we got these White Walkers up here. Daenerys is on a whole other story, but you would think they would be on the same side now, knowing that they're I and they have probably some kind of shared destiny. So I would hope they get up together on the same page. So I think they have to prioritize this stuff, because we see the White Walkers and they're getting closer and closer. So I don't know if they should say like, okay, hold up on this whole Cersei thing, because she's so weak, she's so depleted. To their knowledge, that this stuff with Euron isn't even going to bear fruit, or they don't even really know about that potential partnership. So it's like, well, maybe we should put Cersei on hold and deal with these White Walkers, and then we can revisit that idea. Or would you think about it the opposite way of being like, okay, Cersei's so weak, we should probably just take over the throne now, since that won't take that long, and then turn back our attention to the White Walkers. Like, I don't know which the priority should be. I don't know, I can't gauge really distance as far as it's concerned. But I would say, like, since winter is actually here, and the White Walkers are moving with the winter, and it's starting from the north, so they have to be closer than ever to Winterfell, that should probably be the priority. But let me know in the comments what you think should be the idea, because I think you need everybody, like, all hands on deck for this one. Like, even like in the grand scheme of things, the Lannisters are going to have to deal with the White Walkers as well. If they're still in power, they're still alive, they're going to have to deal with this, because winter will eventually get to King's Landing, and the White Walkers move with the winter. So that's going to be really interesting to see. I'm trying to think who's another person's story who I haven't touched on. Yeah, we didn't see much from Tyrion this episode. He was with Dany, and he didn't get a line at all. I don't think he was just there. He was in awe of arriving at Dragonstone and seeing their old castle, and like the just entering like the throne room and the battle and like the war room at the very end of the episode. The Hound had some moments earlier in the episode, and we actually revisit a place that the Hound and Arya had stopped at way back when, like season 3 or 4 or something like that. But it was this father and his daughter. The daughter made him stew, which was very tasty. But he's like, as they're leaving, I think he knocks the dad out and steals their silver. And like as he's leaving, like this is way back a few seasons ago, he's like, the father's weak, and his daughter makes a nice stew, but he's weak, and they'll be dead by winter. It is like, it's messed up that he was right, and they returned to this place when he's with the Brotherhood without banners. He's just like, so they're going in there. It's like, maybe they'll have some ale. It's like, they don't. It's like, because he knows, because he's been there before. So it's interesting. Like, you see their two frozen skeletons there, and it's just like, well, we could assume that they were going to starve to death, and instead the father chose to kill himself and his child, or in reverse order. But it proves the Hound's prophecy true, but like, I don't know if that's necessarily because the Hound was right, or because like he stole their silver and they didn't have anything to exchange for like food. Like, they could have lasted a little bit longer if he had something to trade. But you know, the ends justify the means, I guess. Also, the Hound now has his eyes open to the Lord of Light. They kept telling the fire, it's like, hey, I like that line. It's like, it would be just my luck that I get roped in with a group of fire worshippers, because you know the Hound has this whole thing about fire, his horribly burned face. So like, he looks into the fire and finally actually sees something. He sees the wall of ice. I think he sees the wall coming down and the army of the dead. So like, he's been awakened to this this threat that is actually real. He's been alerted to the truth and the real drama that is coming from the north. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited that pretty much everybody's on the same page. Arya's still kind of on the revenge storyline. I really did enjoy Arya's scene at the very beginning of assuming the identity of Walder Frey. Like, she has really mastered this faceless technique. It's just like, hey, like they kept reiterating, like, if you don't, like, you have to abandon your identity, you have to accept that you're no one to really be a faceless man. But she's like screw that, I'm gonna be a faceless man anyway. And she's really mastered it, because like I wouldn't have guessed that was a little girl wearing an old man's face. She got the voice right. Her height seemed to have changed and everything. But I love that she finally gets her revenge for the Red Wedding. She's just marking off those names on that list. So when she arrives to the Ed Sheeran gang, I appreciate the fact that she said, they were like, what's a girl like you going to King's Landing for? He's like, I'm going to kill the queen. And they all just started laughing. She's just like, no, seriously, I'm going to kill the queen. So I would really enjoy seeing that. I feel like that kill is a little bit bigger than what we would expect for Arya to get, because she seems to be like, she's not going to be the person who assumes the seat on the throne, but as far as this storyline is going, she does seem to be successfully marking off everybody on her list. So if she's the one who gets the kill in service of someone else assuming power, I think that's still cool. But I'm assuming like the ultimate like throne winning kill is going to be at the hands of like Daenerys or Jon Snow, or a team of the two. Or maybe everybody's going to click up at the very end and it's just going to be like an Avengers moment. Either way, I'm excited for whatever's gonna happen. Um, and with that, I will wrap up because my phone is overheating and it's really hot outside. So with that, I will say thanks for watching my review. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and comment, and let me know your thoughts on this episode, and subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already. I'm going to be talking about Game of Thrones this entire season. So subscribe, help me get to 150 subscribers. I know it's a small goal, but that's what I want to get to before I get to the next one. So with that, I will say again, thanks for watching, and that's all you get for today.